Hi. I thought I'd give a brief commentary on the Republican presidential debate that took place on CNN earlier tonight. I just have a couple of things I'd like to say, so I will try to be brief. The first is with respect to the question Wolf Blitzer originally asked Mike Huckabee about evolution. In one of the previous Republican debates, Mike Huckabee was one of the candidates who said he did not believe in evolution. So Wolf Blitzer asked him, if not evolution, then does he believe the story as was told in Genesis, in the Bible? Actually, it might have been one of the other moderators who asked this. I don't remember, but you know, Mike Huckabee gave me sort of an interesting response, and then I think some of the other candidates also gave responses. Um, but what really struck me is that after all of those, anti-evolution candidates gave their responses, Wolf Blitzer then turned to Ron Paul and asked the same question. And Ron Paul gave a very interesting answer, not one that I totally agree with, but he said that matters of that we should look to the Constitution, and that the Constitution says that Congress or government shall make no law, and establishing religion, blah 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 blah. Basically, the first part of the First Amendment. And then he continued by saying that the federal government really has almost has no jurisdiction or has no responsibility in making these kinds of decisions in terms of what should or should not be taught in schools. Um, I'm not sure that I completely agree, because I think that the federal government needs to take a stance on um, preventing um, only creationism or intelligent design from being taught. And McCain sort of also said this, that students should be exposed to a variety of views on this particular subject, and I agreed with that. The second thing I'd like to briefly mention is Ron Paul's answer to the question of whether he believed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy should be repealed. I was very pleased that Wolf Blitzer asked this question of the Republicans. Now, if you'll remember in the Democratic debate 2 days ago, all 8 of the candidates said that they would be in favor of repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and allow and gave people to serve openly in the military. Ron Paul was the only candidate tonight who sort of questioned. Well, at the beginning he said he thought it was a good policy, but then what he said afterwards contradicted that earlier statement. And he said that people shouldn't be punished for their, as he called them, attitudes, meaning sexual orientations or attractions. And he said that inappropriate homosexual conduct should be punished in the same way that inappropriate heterosexual conduct should be punished, in terms of harassment and unwanted advances and so forth. And I completely agree with that. So I don't quite understand why he would say that the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy is a good policy, unless maybe he just doesn't really understand the full extent of the policy or what the policy has done. And even Wolf Blitzer then asked Rudy Giuliani what he thought, and sort of added to the question by saying that, or stating that, Arab linguists have been discharged from the military simply for coming out, for being gay. And Rudy Giuliani just gave some sort of cop-out answer about how we're at a time of war, and messing with something like this is, it just isn't the right time for it, and blah 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 blah. Clearly, not wanting to step on the toes of the base of the Republican Party, which I thought was sleazy. And then I guess the same thing sort of happened with Mitt Romney. I guess it's an example of another flip-flop on his part. So I don't know, Ron Paul seemed to be the only one who really sort of showed any, any sense of decency or moral integrity, in my opinion. And then the third thing I wanted to briefly mention was an answer that Tom Tancredo gave to a question that was asked of him. He was asked, and as were the other candidates, how he would use then former President George W. Bush if he were to become president. A similar question has been asked of the Democrats 2 days ago. How would they use Bill Clinton? Tom Tancredo was told a story that happened a couple of years ago where he opposed a piece of legislation that President Bush was trying to pass through the Congress. And when it happened, he got a call from Karl Rove saying that he should never darken the doorsteps of the White House again. That's chilling. I have to applaud Tom Tancredo for saying how he felt about the president, and I hope more Republicans do so in the future. On another sort of related note, Duncan Hunter kept trying to tie the immigration bill to Bush, saying that it was this new compromise is the McCain-Kennedy-Bush bill. So it certainly seems that Duncan Hunter is also trying to distance himself from the president as much as possible. The next thing I wanted to talk about was this was there was a question on abortion. Some sort of Huckabee, or was it what is the greatest moral peril of our time, or the greatest moral issue of our time, or something like that. But in any case, Huckabee you start talking about pro-life and whatever, and then immediately what was interesting is Huckabee sort of became the standard bearer for the religious right in this debate, and he had several questions asked of him in this matter. But again, at the end, the moderator turned to Ron Paul, and Ron Paul got a chance to show his true libertarian attitudes again. I don't know if CNN deliberately tried to do this to show that Ron Paul is probably the only sane person among those 10 Republicans. I don't know, but I thought it was sort of an interesting little ploy. Not something I would have necessarily expected, although I can't say I'm disappointed. Although it does seem to be a little bit of a manipulation of the debate. Possibly to show CNN's preference within the 10 candidates. I'm not sure. The last thing I want to briefly mention is McCain's assertion that Hispanic culture has added tremendously to sort of the American melting pot, as I recall. He certainly came out swinging against his opponents in terms of his immigration bill, and he forcefully defended the bill and forcefully defended the dignity and integrity of the vast majority of these illegal immigrants, and I have to say, well done. Well done. Thank you, John McCain, for being the voice of reason. I think that's all I had to say today. So enjoy the video and comment. Let me know what you think. Thanks.